Welcome to Virtuous Society. I'm your host, Itamar, here to learn from experts and great minds about all things community. Today we talk to Jonathan, head of community for Proof of Play, the studio behind the amazing success that is Pirate Nation. Pirate Nation is one of the most exciting games and communities, so getting the chance to understand how Jonathan got tens of thousands of community members to raid every single corner of Web3 gaming in the last 2 months was super interesting and really insightful. I want to thank again Jonathan for joining us. Enjoy the episode. Welcome, Jonathan. First and foremost, can you introduce us to Proof of Play and share a little bit about your role as head of community?
Of course. Thank you for having me, Itamar and Game 7 team. I'm Jonathan Goodwin, head of community at Proof of Play, where we're building Pirate Nation. Pirate Nation is a fully on-chain RPG where you can have crazy adventures, build and find amazing treasure, battle monsters, and interact with your friends in this wonderful, limitless on-chain pirate world. Proof of Play is a company that builds fully on-chain games our decentralized games and decentralized gaming infrastructure. So by fully on-chain, what we mean is as much as possible, the game logic, the game economy, it all lives on chain, which lets us do a few things. One, we get to have a player-owned economy. Players can decide the value of things through trade, and they can also, if the game isn't giving them the item that they need to complete a certain quest, there's an opportunity for them to go find it if they want. So you can balance people that are time rich and time poor. And additionally, the other thing that gets me most excited about a fully on-chain game is it's composable, interoperable, and extensible. We have the game, we build the game, that's what we're building, but there are all kinds of other things that can be built on top of it now because all of that data is standardized and it's public. There are no APIs to update. That's a huge issue if you're in the integration business. Is someone changes their SDK or the API and suddenly you're behind schedule and have to spend a lot of development effort to go update for that. But with Pirate Nation being fully on chain, all that data is there. We have some amazing projects being built by the community. There's a group called GG Quest, which is building a game questing platform that's really focused on the game side of things. They just hosted an amazing tournament. Um, they had the finals over the weekend. It was really intense. I remember watching.
Like the GG
Oh yeah,
Quest
yeah,
team, yeah.
yeah. Dice and Rick,
Yeah,
they're good guys. We have someone else that's building like a speed run leaderboard for the Gauntlet. The Gauntlet is our daily challenge where you battle monsters, and then um,
that's Tomato featuring. I said that's Tomato featuring on the podcast,
yes,
bridging
that's
in.
my cat Tomato.
Nice.
He cares not for my professional success. Um, but so it's an on-chain event when you start the gauntlet. It's an on-chain event when you complete the final gauntlet, or any of the gauntlets. But the final one is what it looks for. So it takes those timestamps from the chain and then comes up with a delta and says, oh, it took you 12 minutes, it took you 10 minutes, it took you 15 minutes, and from there it drives the leaderboard. So now players are incentivized to compete with each other on that leaderboard to see who can beat the hard gauntlet the fastest. So it's a really wonderful place. This is the kind of company I've always wanted to work at. Um,
Nice.
our CEO, Amit Mahajan, he previously co-created Farmville. They sold that company to Zynga, and then they used Game A to feed Game B to feed Game C. Each game would continue to grow independently, but you weren't cold starting every single game, which I think not enough game studios have understood, and that's definitely like in our DNA. Farmville is definitely in our DNA. Building first off, Pirate Nation. It's a cozy, comfortable, but still competitive RPG that it's built for your grandmas and your grandchildren. We have a 90 one of our community members. His grandpa's 92, and he plays every day. And
Nice.
then like our staff and plenty of our players post about like, hey, my first mate, aka their eldest child, who's like 6 or 8 years old, plays. Our product lead Adam says he has a human AI, as in he's trained his eldest child, to sail around in the morning over breakfast and go find the high value chests
Nice.
to open. So
That's awesome.
it's I love what we're building. I love being a part of this team, and I can't wait for everything that's coming next.
Yeah, but it feels to me like, as a side note, you're doing a very good job. Like you specifically, and also the team, because the game is very good and the community is crazy. Like we just had the pretty much the Booty Points campaign where you kind of raided all of Web3, including Game
Yeah,
7. And
we had we
the
had
amount of people
60
was insane.
partners. We had 60 partners hungry for the booty points that agreed to that. So I'm very grateful to Game 7 and everybody else that took a shot on us. We had our stumbles, we adjusted, we calibrated, and I think by the end we got the right measure. Where the so for those that don't know, Twitter questing for points kind of sucks. It's really rote. It's all the same stuff, and by this point, I don't think anyone's doing it anymore. For us, what we said was like, okay, what's the blue? That's the red ocean. Everybody is knifing each other, trying to get like that incremental edge of difference. Portal Coin already came out and ruined it for everybody. But there's this big blue ocean called Discord, and it's also kind of what's old is new again. Discord raids used to be the thing, and then Discord built raid protection tools. So what we said was like, okay, let's go to them. We have a reputation. Hopefully, people respect us still, and we want to come out and say like, hey, let's get some activity going in your server. Initially, what we did was talk like a pirate. Then we pivoted back because we had a lot of ChatGPT spam. There was spoil the text because people are like, I need to make sure I qualify. So then we stepped back and we did GMs, which made us look a little bawdy, but it worked. We ran it for 24 hours, and then the final one, we think we really nailed it. Compliment the partner like a pirate. Ahoy, Game 7. It's so good to be here, matey. You're a mighty fine, salty community.
Yeah, we had plenty of those.
So we started with 12, then we did 16, and then we did 32 in those 3 successive waves. And we're not done. We're not done with Booty and Discord, but we're definitely not going to do the same thing over again. We'll do something new. That's the key to marketing campaigns. You can't just do the same thing. You have to do something new.
Yeah, and I think that you really hit the nail on the head with this one. Can you share a bit more about like the Booty Points campaign? Just dive a bit deeper into it. Like you said, 60 partners, talk like a pirate. How have you got that idea first and foremost, and what were the effects like in terms of both the community, like growing the community and getting them closer together? Because it felt like you were seeing a lot of like core die-hard pirates and Pirate Nation fans going around together to other discords and seeing each other there also, so kind of interacting with each other on other mediums, which was very interesting for me to see, like seeing people from the Pirate Nation community understand, like pretty much talking about both Pirate Nation, but also understanding together, okay, what is Game 7 since we are already here, so what are you guys doing? Because we also had your platform, your quest in our platform. So it was like, okay, you probably already qualify because the quest itself was super simple. And if you're already a die-hard Pirate Nation fan, just complete it, like you're already done. So seeing people kind of help each other understand what other projects are doing was very interesting to me. If you can dive a bit into that, that would be perfect.
Yeah. So I can't take credit for the idea. All I can take credit for is execution. But we had this idea. This idea kind of came out to create like a Discord virus at our hackathon last year in New York, or our offsite in New York, in which we had the hackathon. So some of our teammates came up with the idea like, let's come up with like a Discord like kind of mind virus. What are the ways that we can incentivize people to take action on the Discords? Because again, we saw at that point, this is November last year, Portal Coin already taken off. There were a few more projects that were starting to spin up Twitter campaigns, and very quickly it goes to the lowest common denominator, like almost like that. And we had 6 more months of Twitter campaigns that I don't think really like I don't think they landed. So the idea was like, let's find the blue ocean, let's go to Discord, but we don't want to do this on a permissionless basis. We want to like make sure that we get the check-in from the partner and the approval. We are building something great. A lot of people appreciate that and respect that. So we don't want to ruin a reputation. And we probably took like a couple dings on the reputation side. I remember one of my favorite things. I'll have to give you this image after the fact so you could like overlay it. But we're really good friends with Forgotten Runes Wizard Cole. It was fun to see the way some communities respond. Some of them just completely vacated their general chats. Some of them did battle with the pirates. So there's this really funny like AI piece of art where there's a wizard on top of a hill holding like a Jolly Roger flag with a sword. He's like fending off, and like pirates and wizards like fighting their way up the hill. And I'll have to get that to you because that was the funniest
That's a
thing
good
I've seen
one.
that in that whole period. But what was interesting about it was that like getting partners to agree. The other communities could get mad, but they couldn't stay mad because like, oh wait, we agreed to this.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I'm from Indiana. It's not the greatest place in the world, but there's a legend now, a folk tale out there of this guy named Johnny Appleseed, where sometimes he wears like a pot over his head, or he's wearing like a farmer's hat, but he just walks around dropping and planting apple tree seeds, and then apple trees would grow. So that's basically what we were doing. Is we were going around different communities that have some form of alignment that buy into Web3, whether that's from a PFP perspective, the gaming perspective, the alpha group perspective, or what Game 7 is doing is just kind of like this meta layer on top of gaming.
Hmm.
Um, and we're planting the seeds. And it's fantastic. Like, for instance, with Pudgy Penguins, we had to do like, we could go through like a complex arbitrage, like go into like one of their threads or whatever
Yeah.
and do that. But they, they're still talking about us, and that dedicated thread in the Pudgy server is still there. They're still talking. They're still optimizing. They're still like reeling from our TGE, our token launch. Like it's still happening. And we brought in plenty of players over from these other communities. We showed them like, hey, we can innovate and do things differently. And yeah,
Yeah, I
it
think
was fun. But also, you mentioned the Game 7 campaign, which I also would call it Dungeons and Degens, which
hmm
was awesome. That was like my second week on the job here. I got reached out like, hey, let's do this community activation, and I think that was incredible. Where we built one of your product managers on that campaign. I was like, oh yeah, we'll build the API, we'll get them to talk to each other, and we just said, stop right there. We're fully on chain. And he's like, oh my god,
That's
thank you,
so good.
thank you.
We
Here's a
love it.
sandwich.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So it was really cool for me in like my first month, aside from building the Jolly Roger Booty Points campaign, to immediately see the value of fully on chain and to deliver that with a partner. I think
Hmm.
it was incredible.
Yeah, that was perfect. I think that you really like acted in the right time because the product is very good. I think that the game itself, like everyone that played from the game 7, like community, everyone enjoyed it. Like everyone had fun, and it tied down very well just in terms of the timing and how you guys kind of were everywhere. Like it felt like it doesn't matter what community you've been a part of for that month or so, someone just were like yelling to you like somewhere. That
Exactly.
was
One of our secrets was we incentivized people at Booty Point to change their profile picture to one of our
Mhm.
like 10 pirates, pirate icons, and then had to put pirate in the name. And that was at the global level. It wasn't the server level. It had to
Yeah,
be the global like Discord account.
yeah.
So even if I don't know, I'm trying to think of like Mochaverse for example. That was a server that we tried to approach, but they were too busy. They had too
Hmm.
much going on. We'll do something else with them downstream. But by the time everybody else was active in all 60 partner servers over those 3 or 4 weeks, but you would still see
Like
like
pirate,
10,
yeah.
15 people are pirates. It's like, what's going on?
Yeah,
And why
with
are you
core
guys all
team
pirates?
members
And
like
they say,
changing their
Yar,
name
get the
to,
booty.
yeah.
Exactly.
We had core team members being like, I don't know, like Itamar Game 7, Pirate Itamar Game 7. Like very much branding their entire name. Which was funny to see.
Exactly.
That was really good. So how did you kind of went about it? Like how do you have you just pretty much built the entire system to track that people are fulfilling those requirements? Like how did you went about it?
Yeah, so everyone was like, "Oh, we have to add a bot to our server. We're not sure about that." And we said, "No, we've already infiltrated. We're already scanning your server." So all we had to do, we just built some dummy Discord accounts.
Hmm.
We just had to give them a name and a PFP, and then we try to like create them a few weeks before we put them in other servers. That way, they had some age on them, and they would just sit. And through those accounts, we were able to like basically just we had you know a bot or whatever you want to call it. We had a script that would use those accounts and their authentications to basically just scan the chat, just take a snapshot of the chat every 5 minutes for like
Interesting.
the rolling previous 12 hours or 2 hours, whatever it was. And then we had another kind of microservice which scanned what was captured and looked for pirate name, pirate PFP, and then qualifying speech. And then the third task was then assign the booty points accordingly. And so what was cool about that was that, I mean, we were able to deliver that like at the early stage. It worked in real time, and then obviously once it reached scale, it was kind of creaking
Yeah.
across 32 servers in Wave 3. It was like a 2 hour delay, but it was fine. Everyone was cool with that. Even
Okay.
that was still pretty incredible. Like we were prepared to be like, we'll decide we'll run it for 24 hours. We'll sign all the points after the fact.
Yeah.
Our engineers are incredible. Like
That's crazy.
I don't think I've worked on a
It's really
team
crazy.
with just like the level of talent, competence, and like execution focus.
I had
as
no
I have
idea
here
this
at
is
Proof of
how you
Play.
went about it. Like, it's crazy. It's
Yeah,
super
exactly.
creative. Like, it's super creative.
It's very sneaky.
Very
Yeah.
sneaky. Interesting. Okay, perfect. So I wanted to kind of dive deeper into your journey, and I wanted, like, you pretty much joined the Proof of Play team recently. We can say, can you share
Mhm.
a bit more about your experience before and what have you done prior to that?
Yeah. So my whole career, I've worked at startups. I would get bored if I had to just fill out the same form every week at a giant enterprise company doing the same thing over and over. What I love about startups is that like there should in a good startup always be new challenges to conquer. If there are new challenges, that means you're solving the old ones. So
Exactly.
prior to Proof of Play, I worked at Mythical Games and NFL Rivals.
Mhm.
We hit 4 million downloads. It was a major heavyweight kind of pre web. Honestly, people would say, "Oh, it's Web 2." It's like no. NFL's pre web. Like they're all the way back from before broadcast television.
That's like sticks and
So we
stones.
had this. Yeah, exactly. We have this nearly century old IP that we're bringing in. This partner, they were very nervous. So we brought them, but we, the team executed, got them on the finish line, built a pretty cool game. Before that, I worked at a couple other Web3 startups. I've been Web3 full time for now like almost 4.5 years. So I'm quite old. I remember when the meta was, don't talk about the token you sold in your ICO. Like we're not allowed to talk about it at all. Um, my first Web3 startup was a social startup that's called Sapien, where we had an ICO back in 2018. I joined it in 2020. I got the Web3 job, I got COVID, and then the whole world shut down. So
Yeah,
it was a
nice.
really chaotic like 2 week period for me. And I worked at this other startup that was trying to do digital sports fashion. It was definitely a raw bull market play. They didn't know product market fit, and so I tried to steer the ship, but we ran out of money. And then I ended up at Mythical, and then that propelled me on. Now here I am at Proof of Play.
Nice. Really good. So I wanted to ask what is it that makes the Pirate Nation community special? Because I think it is. Like, how have you nurtured the growth? Because it seems like, I wouldn't say it was quiet because it wasn't, but you pretty much took Twitter and Web3 gaming as a whole by a storm in the last like 3 months, I would say. Uh, how? Pretty much. That's the question. Just
I
how.
ca- yeah. I mean, I'm new, so or not that I've been here almost 4 months, so I can't take too much credit, but
Oh, all the credit
um,
because that's perfectly aligned.
I mean, all the credit definitely goes to the team. It definitely goes to the team. In my interview with the CEO, he said that a previous Web3 startup, he built Rarebits, which was a competitor to OpenSea back in 2018. Their team contributed to the ERC 1155 standard. So this guy has been like a leader in the space for quite some time. And what he told me in the interview was that what really undid them was they didn't focus enough on community. And
Hmm.
he said he learned that lesson, and it will never happen again. And he used more colorful language on that. But and what that told me was like, okay, this is fantastic. Like, A, this is a guy who learns. B is a guy who adapts and is willing to do whatever it takes to survive. Well, not whatever it takes, but he's willing to like make changes to survive. And he will value the work that I bring. Like my ideas, my work, like he will value it. And that just told me like this is where I need to be. Um, so the whole company is oriented around community as player one. They're the priority. Our players are our priority, and we want what I've been saying is that if you're not playing my game, it's an infinite war for attention out there. If you're not playing my game, you need to be in my Discord. Like I need you to be in my Discord. I need you to be like thinking about this game, talking about this game, ingesting about this game. And we have that. When people are when they beat their gauntlets, the first thing they do is they come into the Discord and they say, "Oh man, I just beat the gauntlet. Here's what I did: Health Pirate, level 3 frigate. Dropped these cards. It took me like 2 hours or whatever, and they exchange tips." I think some of the secret sauce there, this company, like I would have recommended it, but the company's been doing it anyways, is they build in public. Not too in public, but in public. We have a public roadmap where things, go back and forth based on like, this is coming soon. We're working on this. This is on the roadmap. And we actively like move that stuff back and forth. And our players watch that. They watch that for intel. We publish weekly release notes. We ship something meaningful every single week. It might just be like UI tweaks and enhancements, and we change like a menu or something like that. But we are shipping every single week, which means like it's like working out. Like we are not getting flabby and lazy with it. We're shipping every single week, which means our engineers are always oriented around, okay, how do I get this to the finish line? How do I MVP this? What's V2, V3? We're not we're not going to engineer this whole like world wonder and ship it. We're going to incrementally do this, and watch the data and learn. Because our prior assumptions may be wrong. We may ship a feature and the community takes it in a totally different direction, or they hate it. And what's good is if our assumptions were wrong, we didn't sink the time and cost into building the thing any more than we already did.
Yeah.
So that's one of our big superpowers. And then the final thing is we really take community feedback. Like we have a suggestions channel, and we review that on like a roughly monthly basis. The suggestion channel where players, I think you have to have a founder's pirate. You can make a suggestion, and then other players can then start to comment back and forth in the thread and debate and say, no, but you're about 80% there. This is what I think this really should be, and they can vote up or down. And then we power weight that. Like if something is incredibly popular, it's like, okay, we really need to consider this for the game. Um, so we review them on a monthly basis and say like, okay, this is already in the roadmap, or this is something that we didn't foresee, or
Yeah.
maybe this player is a little just cranky. They need to have their breakfast, but it's fun. So we really integrate with the community. Our CEO, our engineering lead, our product lead, like everybody gets into the chat on Discord. We get into the replies on Twitter. Like like anytime someone is supporting Pirate Nation, we want to support them. So we have all of that in our DNA, and our community responds to that.
Nice.
And this podcast is called Virtuous Society, and I really think at Pirate Nation we are building, even though we're pirates, we are truly building a virtuous society where people are there to have fun, and that comes in so many different ways of playing the game and helping each other, creating content, providing tips, onboarding new players. Like the community does so much of my job for me. It's great. This means I get to do more for them.
Nice. I think that's pretty much the kind of the objective for many communities, not all of them, but many communities within Web3 is to create that virtual society. That's the name. And I feel,
It's the ideal.
yeah, that's the ideal for sure. I feel you're doing a lot right, and I think it does translate because it feels like the community is very much well put together, and it feels like that there are like real connections there. And the fact that you are saying that the team is constantly engaging with them, and it's interesting to know how you are like the way that you are collecting suggestions. I believe there is feedback as well within this. Do you have like some community members that you signaled out, like OGs, like people that have been there from the get-go, and you are, let's say, interacting with them on a more recurring basis or a more personal basis, just to get their view, like somewhat of a like community leaders, like the
Yeah,
voice of the people?
of course. I mean, I don't want to say like any player is, weighted above another, but there's some players that have really been here, that understand gaming, that understand tokenomics, that understand, they get what we're trying to build, and they give fantastic feedback. And so we really do take that into account. It's not necessarily that we would build a feature for one player, but it's more that like this is someone who cares and is, emotionally invested at least in this ecosystem, in this vision that we're building, and that's something that we want. And so you give us what we want, we give you what you want.
Mhm.
Um, Fair play. But we have some players that have been here, either from the beginning or that have been here long enough, and they really contribute to the game, to the community through content, or through advice, or through building things. And we have a status in the community called the Honorable Pirate, where they get like a custom items they can place on their island, and it's really like it's kind of a bragging point. They get a Discord role. We have some players that have achieved that. I can't think of all of them off the top of my head, but Rick and Dice, who built GG Quest, are an example because they're trying to build a business and they're using us as the pilot for building their questing
Yeah.
platform, and it's drawn people in. It's gotten people engaged. Um, this other amazing player, his name's Murdoch. He hosts like it's almost every week. It's either every week or every other week. He hosts a Twitter Space. And they've had 58 episodes so far about Pirate Nation. They've done like emergency ones when we dropped a huge update, like when we dropped the white paper. When the white paper went live for the Pirate Token launch, he's like, "Oh my god, I was not expecting that." So he jumped on and said, "Guys, we have to have emergency space in like 2 hours," and they got 150 people to come out. And he does it every single week. He makes videos every single week. He's putting out one or two videos or more, walking things through, trying to help players, trying to like kind of like truth seek together of what is Pirate Nation and how do you play it. And it's been incredible. Like it, in my sappier moments, I'm like, man, I gotta brush that tear out of my eye because these people are incredible and they're giving so much to us, which then lights the fire under us. Like, okay, we have to step up our game and keep giving them more.
Nice. It feels like you are pretty much encouraging merit, which is, I would say, the what Game 7 is built around. So there's a lot there, like in terms of identifying the people that provide value to. I can't really say game. I think it's more of an ecosystem now because you are. I think that's really the North Star. It's not just about one game. It's not just about Pirate Nation. I feel like you are building something that is bigger than that. So not
Absolutely.
necessarily more games obviously, but just an entire ecosystem, which is exciting to. It's exciting to see, and I really can't wait to see what you got like lined up. Um, I want to dive a bit deeper to like your early influences and stuff, like pretty much your early journey, like how you started. What drew you into communities? Like how did that become a thing for you? Was it like something that you like from childhood, or what drew you into it?
um, Yeah, I hadn't really thought of that. I kind of so in terms of getting the community, my first Web3 job was head of marketing. And my
Hmm.
goal was to grow the platform and build the brand. I really tried to have a hard influence on the direction of the product because we only had one product manager, and he and I were like in lockstep. Like we had our disagreements, but we really shared the vision for what we're trying to build. We would just, go back and forth on how to get there. It is unfortunate that, things didn't go as planned. Of course, that's the way of startups. In particular, Web3 startups. But, um, community is kind of this like tacked on responsibility. You need to go into the server and like answer questions. You need to provide information. And so I saw the value there. I think what was hard was that we already had, I launched the Discord for Sapien before we were just a Telegram channel that no one could chat in. And I was like, great, um, this is way easier. But once I launched the Discord, I was like, okay, now this is like another level. People are going to talk to each other and they're going to share opinions on this. So I always tried to like come up with ways to, engage that and kind of stumbled forth kind of like a, newborn deer, tripping and stumbling and falling, but eventually getting back up and being able to do the full run. So when I was at Fan Curve, which was digital sports fashion startup, I really tried to build that community. We were focused on like digital, like NFTs of like made up soccer jerseys, where we would partner with a club or an athlete, build new jerseys based on some sort of storytelling, and then sell them. Like I said, total bull market play.
Hmm.
But I
For
really
sure.
figured out some loops where it's like, okay, there's a real fandom here. People have their clubs, their rivalries. People love FIFA, and I tried to do like FIFA tournaments, but no one wanted to play. But every time I streamed FIFA, I would get 50 people watching. So I tried to build like be a content creator around that. And when the NFL Rivals hit, then that was like that was when I knew like, okay, this is the real moment. Um, where we have a real community, we have a real product people can interact with. There's a value proposition, and now I have to keep steering the ship. So it's kind of like community is almost like you're building a cult, a little bit. Like you need to have the uniform, which is sharing memes and generating new in memes for the community. For Pirate Nation, we have this new one. The patch stays on. Our patch stays on, as in a pirate's eye patch. Like it doesn't matter what happens. Like token go up or down, or new feature comes out. Like everything. Like
Nice.
we're locked in for Pirates. Patch stays on. We didn't come up with that. That's not us. someone randomly posted it
Really
on
cool.
Twitter, and now we're trying to figure out like how do we build a product to support that.
Mimit.
As a back in college, university, I was very big in community. I joined the service fraternity, and I always trying to plan events that bring members together. I threw concerts, like large community, like 6 hour concerts if they're all like one or two a semester. Go get money from the university. Let them have them pay me to throw a party, the kind of party I wanted.
Nice.
So I'd bring bands from like the local area, the regional area. I went to Purdue, which is in between Indianapolis and Chicago. So I brought bands from Chicago and Indy and the area around the university. And it was great because you had all people there. You had students, you had young parents would bring their kids, and the little kids would be dancing. There were community members that just came around, and it was and people just talk. And so I guess I've always been kind of searching for community and always trying to build it wherever I go. A couple summers ago, I tried to start like a pickup kickball group here in my neighborhood in Brooklyn. Um, I called it. My neighborhood's called Bushwick, so I called it Bush Kick. I built the website and everything, and I got in Photoshop, made the logo, and only two people showed up. And one of them was a designer. She's like, "Are you a designer?" And I was like, "No." She's like, "That logo was incredible." I was like, "Oh man." So I was like, "Okay, I don't have the energy to go do this on my own." So then I joined a kickball team, and now we just won on Saturday, three-peat champions,
Nice.
back to back summer seasons. So
Really cool.
I guess it's always been there, lurking.
Yeah, it seems like that. I think that's I won't say the episode number because we might drop yours before or after others, but we recorded a few thus far. And I think there are some things that are very much in common for all like community slash marketing like people. And that's the like being a part of something or just building that thing on your own. Like if it's not there, then I'll create it. Like I'll create the group uh, and just being a part of different groups seems like various different groups at the same time pretty much always. So that's something that I think a lot of people just have in common. It seems to be a natural like a natural want to be part of various groups and just enjoying the company of other people, which makes sense. Like I think it does
I
make
mean, humans are a social species.
sense. Hmm.
That's why social media dominates the world, is we all want to feel that connection,
Yeah.
and hopefully, we could build more positively inclined ways for people to find that connection. The likes on Twitter and Instagram. That's you see. Those likes are built there, for algorithmic weighting, but also when you want likes because it's you seeking approval from strangers and from people you know. What I think is way more impactful is you post something in a Discord with people that are aligned around a game like Pirate Nation. You post a meme, and then you start getting emoji reacts. And I think that, yes, they're strangers, but it's pushing in a good direction.
Yeah, it's
You know,
fun.
you're not. It's less performative. It's more creative. It's more earnest and authentic, and you're in a friendly zone. And there, hopefully the guardrails are there, so there aren't trolls coming in and attacking you.
Exactly.
But we're a social species, and I think what's important is that we lean into that when we build our products, but we also don't want to exploit that either. Like I said, if you're not playing my game, I want you in my community, but I want you in my community having a good time, not just in my community for the sake of being there.
Couldn't agree more. So I want to dive deeper into like some strategies really. So you have a very extensive background, and I think that the work that you've been doing in Pirate Nation and the Pirate Nation team uh, is a very well done one. So I wanted to ask, what are some of the most effective strategies that you've employed in order to engage like Pirate Nation members? Obviously, the Bully Points campaign is the biggest one, but other stuff that you saw that could potentially benefit other communities as well, both to create more connections and to pretty much strengthen the connections that are already there.
Yeah, I mean the rising tide lifts all ships. So, um, you know, I definitely believe in like mutual value creation. Like,
Hmm.
I offer value. Like my whole philosophy on like community is, I offer value, then you produce value, then you give value, then I produce value in response. And so that there's just more and more, especially on an evergreen basis, there's just more value there, and it kind of becomes magnetic and ideally sticky. Um, so we've done a couple of things that were pretty successful. we had a parlay tool where it was if you hold a shrapnel operator or if you hold an Infinigods NFT, you come into Mid Pirate Nation for free. We'll come in and do kind of a joint AMA. That's not unique. Lots of people do that. But the way we went about it was, it was really helpful. We were very choosy about who we did parlays with. And actually, we have a new front end developer. She came in. She was a player first, and she came in through a parlay with Shrapnel. So it's funny, like these things long tail have so many good effects for us, not
Yeah.
just bringing new players in, but they're bringing employees in. And then the other thing I think is important is that our hand may be on the helm steering the ship, but it's not the only one there. Like I said, the community has suggestions, they have opinions, they want to pull the ship in their direction as well. And it's our job to work with them to steer in a mutually beneficial direction. But what I mean by that is we're not we're not fully in charge. Like anyone can play the game, anyone can create content, and because we're fully unchained, it's permissionless. Anyone can do whatever they want with the game, and we really want to lift that up. GG Quest, for example, they came to us and said, hey, we want to host a big tournament. This is like a big test for us. For Pirate School is what we want to call it. And we helped them, point out the contracts. We wrote up our developer docs to make it easier on them. And they also said, hey, can we give out booty points for the tournament? Because we really think that would drive engagement. And it worked. They had 128 players go through that tournament. 128 players, not the standard 32.
Nice.
They quadrupled that. And we had the final on Sunday, and I watched the semis and the finals from my bed. I was like, oh my god, these guys! I would get smoked. Um, but I think that's the real heart of it because if it's top down, it doesn't feel as good. But if the player next to you does something, you're way more inclined to support them because they're your mate, they're your crewmate. They're doing the same thing you are. They're just doing a little extra, and you want to be supportive of that. So I think, like I said, like back into the social groups, we obviously are predisposed. We want the GG Quest guys to succeed, but the other players also want them to succeed because they could be any player could become the next GG Quest.
Nice. That's amazing. Are you doing anything to connect people IRL, like in real life? Like pretty much taking the connection out, like from
offline.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we've done a few things. I think we need to put together a strategy around it. But one of our top, one of our honorable pirates, Jakins, we brought him on board to represent us with YGG's event in the Philippines. So we worked with that YGG. I think what's her name, Gabby Dizon, I think the founder. She's an investor in Proof of Play. But we struck a deal to have a booth, and we don't have anybody out there to fly out there. But Jenkins said, "Hey, I heard you coming to YGG." And we're like, "Perfect." So we flew him. I think it was in Manila. We flew him to the right city. I keep blanking which one it was. But we flew him there. He repped us, and suddenly we got like tons of Filipino players coming in. We're like, "Oh my god, this is amazing!" And we launched a Filipino channel, and for people to communicate in Tagalog, and within 2 weeks, it was in our top 10 channels activity. So it's that's something that we want to do is we don't have to be the only champions. But another thing that we did was AFT NYC. We did a really everybody's trying to do these like big parties and bringing DJs, and we said screw that. Like I said, red ocean, blue ocean. How do we sail in the blue ocean? So I found this little rum bar and just invited our players and anybody interested in Pirate Nation. Like we had Icy come out. He plays, but he's more of like a content creator. He's not like a regular player. We had some random players that have been playing like for months or even a year come out. And I met this guy, Mr. House, and he was like, Murdoch is convincing me I need to buy a Founders Pirate, and I'm this close to doing it. And by the end, he's like, I think that last mile is covered from this event. It was just intimate, like just come and hang out with us, hang out with the team. We'll drink some good rum. The bar didn't really want us there. It was kind of funny. Like we were like 20 people, and apparently I picked the wrong bar for that. But we brought them a lot of business. But then we went and got pizza. Adam is famous on Twitter for being a pizza maxi and like a kind of like an influencer around New
Pizza
York pizza
Maxi, that's
and
a
food.
good one.
Yeah, exactly. So it was like a known meme of like Adam's gonna take us to a couple good pizza places, and so just hanging out with our pirates and just talking to them, hearing their stories, sharing our stories. Um, I want to do more of that. In those kind of low cost, high effort ways of like high touch where it's like, we don't have to do this big flashy, I go back
Yeah,
to, I
exactly.
loved it, and I'm not slamming it, but Cooltopia in TYC 2022, one of the coolest things I've ever done. I loved it. They had this whole built out branded experience. It was like journey, go collect these points, redeem them for branded rewards. I got a Cool Cats t-shirt. I got a Cool Cats mug. I loved it. Now, one day, I'm sure we'll do that, but we don't have to do that every time.
Yeah,
So I think we need to put together a strategy and like think about how do we go to these places and make sure that we are always kind of like outmaneuvering our competition in terms of attention and bringing our players together. Because like I said, we're social species. You build that connection with each other. You build that with us. You see us as people. You see us as friends. You see that value alignment. You're locked in. You're pirate for life.
go pirate for life. The patch doesn't go off.
The patch stays on.
The page exactly stays on. So I think we have enough time for one more question, which I think is an important one. So, kind of reflecting on everything that you've done in Pirate Nation and other positions as well, what are some of the key lessons that you've learned? Let's say to do's, to don'ts regarding community building specifically.
Yeah, I think the to do is find that sweet spot of transparency. Obviously, you can't let your community into every single meeting. That's not going to work. And there obviously, for regulatory reasons and for like kind of competitive business reasons, there are things you kind of need to keep under the hood.
Exactly.
But that doesn't mean you can't be like honest with your players. There's a difference between kind of like honesty and integrity and full transparency. Full transparency obviously doesn't work, but you could be honest with your players. Like, this is what we're trying to build. This is what you can give clear signals without spelling everything out. This is our North Star. Our North Star is, we want as many players as possible. Our North Star is we want as much trade volume in the
Mhm.
marketplace as possible. Our North Star is we want as many people creating content as possible. And we're going to build the tools and features and gameplay components to achieve those goals. Those are example goals, not specifically ours. Um, but so I think like you have to have cultural alignment. So if you're the community lead, you really have to like kind of brainworm your execs into like, hey, I think we could really stand to gain on the sentiment and growth side and retention side and everything else. Like we have all these KPIs. It'll be a lot easier and cheaper to move these forward if we create some transparency around it. Because now, like we have our public roadmap. Now I didn't bring this to proof of play; it was already here, but I would have pushed for it anyways. But we have a roadmap, and when there are changes on a roadmap, players go create content about that. We don't really have to say it. We don't even say anything. We don't say we updated the roadmap. They check it on their own, and then
Interesting.
that is
Is
an
it a
organic
live one, pretty
milestone.
much?
Yeah, we have one on Notion. We have like a very simple, like
Oh, got it.
just kind of like a Kanban, like, and we move cards back and forth.
Interesting.
There's not a whole lot of information on there. We just put titles. So like, World Boss Event is in the coming soon column. So now players are like, what's the next World Boss Event? When is it happening? Are they going to do what they did last time? I was on a Twitter space last night that Murdoch was hosting, and they're asking me like, "What's the World Boss Event?" And I was like, it's coming. It's going to be different. Something's coming from the depths, but that's all I could say.
Nice.
And
Are we
you can
sharing
create these
timelines or
organic.
just the? Are we
We don't
sharing?
have timelines. It's just kind of more like a status
Exactly.
of
Okay.
like, and
That makes
it also shows. It's also another signal of like, hey, we listen to you, and
sense.
also we can have our own ideas. So
Hmm.
community feedback can generate an item on the roadmap, but also we're going to put our own stuff. We have our own objectives,
Nice.
and players can also use that to say like, oh shit, like I didn't even think of that. That's fantastic. So I don't think a player at any given day would say we want a world boss event, but I don't think that would be their number one priority. But knowing that we're working on it, that's an organic moment. So I think that's really just the most important thing to community is just having that right, a happy medium about transparency, about what you're building. Um, and you can create those loops around value alignment, reward people for doing good things, um, and create fun and interesting challenges, keep things fresh, be earnest, be human, and people will support you. I've I've been through some real tough challenges as a community lead where the game goes down or something breaks, and I am just eating mountains and mountains of
Yeah.
negativity from the community. But then there will be someone that'll come out and say, "Hey, it's not his fault. Like you don't have to say the same thing over and over.
Yeah,
He
we love
knows.
that
He's
guy.
reported it."
Whoever you are,
Yeah,
we love you. Just so you know, like the people that are doing
exactly,
that, we love you so much. So yeah,
exactly.
that's awesome. Okay, so that was a very interesting talk. I think that we will probably need to have another because we have a lot of other questions that we didn't have the chance to ask today, but there will be other opportunities as well, I'm sure. I really want to thank you, first and foremost, for your time. Secondly, for your very valuable insights. I think you are very good at what you are doing, and I'm referring to both yourself and like Pirate Nation. Both are very very impressive. I had a blast both interacting with the community and playing the game, which is very difficult to do. Both. So
That's what I love to hear.
yeah, it's from the bottom of my heart, it's super impressive. So I want to also thank our listeners for joining in and tuning in for this episode and others. And I want to encourage you to follow Jonathan and Pirate Nation on social media. I think that you are I'm Tall Jonathan on Twitter.
Yes, I'm tall. Not I am tall, but I'm tall,
I'm tall. I
Jonathan.
am. Yeah, I am like the letters I am tall.
Like instant messenger, I am.
Yeah, exactly. How tall are you? Like we need to know if it's fake news
uh,
or if it's like legit.
I'll give you the imperial and the metric. So imperial and American measurements, I'm 6'6", and then metric, I'm 198 centimeters.
Damn, that's
So
tall.
just under two.
So as you can see, Pirate Nation remain transparent. Jonathan has shared his exact height with everyone, and he is indeed. So that's great.
You could al- you could also follow Pirate Nation at Pirate Nation or join the Discord, discord.gg/Pirate Nation.
Perfect. You've done it way better than I was going to. So that was amazing. So thank you very much, everyone, for tuning in. As always, all of the links are going to be in the description below if you want to check out the Pirate Nation quest in the Game 7 portal, which I think is like a very good way to get yourself acquainted with the game and the community. It kind of guides you through the entire onboarding. We will have the link for that as well. And yeah, thank you very much for joining. Don't forget to subscribe, follow, share. Every single little bit helps in order to keep improving this show and getting more very valuable guests like Jonathan to come and feature and spare some time and share some insights. So thank you again, Jonathan, and we'll catch you on the next one.